Hey, 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 happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, GamingGang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Tuesday, August 16th, 2022. This is live stream 817. If this is your first time joining me, let me point out, super casual around here. We just hang out talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then we'll normally take a look at a tabletop game. So it's not as if we're engaged in rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Just hanging out, having some fun. Tonight, I am going to take a first look and page through Best Left Buried Deeper from SoulMuppet Publishing. Yes, we are going to take a look at this new SR fantasy role-playing game in just a bit. Pretty hefty tome here as well. Clocking in at, I believe off the top of my head, I think it's 328 pages. So we'll be taking a look at that tonight. So, of course, should mention when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for our latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you won't find on the YouTube channel. Got some Pathfinder reviews that are up right now, as well as a review for an Old School Essentials adventure as well. So that's pretty cool. Of course, you may have already seen my review of Dungeons and Dragons Spelljammer Adventures in Space from Wizards of the Coast. That went live this morning before it went on sale in stores. So if you have not checked it out, you may want to take a peek, especially if you have any interest whatsoever in Spelljammer. Pretty much lay it out. What's in the books, what I like, what I don't like, and a few things that just left me scratching my head. So pointing that out for you as well. Should mention, if you are tuning in because you want to see the page through of Best Left Buried Deeper, keep in mind we tackled the tabletop gaming news first. So it'll be about 30 minutes or so. So if you are watching live, kick back, put your feet up, relax. Enjoy yourself. Hang out. Hopefully you're a subscriber. You can take part in chat. That's right. I'll mention chat in a moment. Of course, if you're watching 30 minutes or more after this stream ends, there will be timestamps. So if you want to just jump right to the page through, you'll be able to. And depending on the device that you're happening to use to watch the show, you might even have those timestamps built into the timeline of the video right in front of you as well. All depends on what you are using. Of course, because this is a live stream, that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight was the Motor City Madman. Yes, the Madman is with us. Flaming Huron is here. John Vogel is in chat. I've got good news for John. We'll talk about that after the news. Kevin R. Smith is hanging with us as well. So Flaming Heron points out, well worth the watch. I believe they're talking about the Spelljammer review. Yes, yes. One of these days, the people from Wizards of the Coast are going to be like, I don't know about you, Jeff. I don't know if we want to keep sending you stuff. You don't sit there and kiss our ass like everybody else. I don't know. I don't know, Jeff. Hey, I tell you what I think. That is for sure. So, I don't know. I don't think I'm that hard on it, but, you know. Anyway, so let's jump on into the news, because coming from Board and Dice this October is Tillatum, or it might be called Tiletum, but to me, Tillatum sounds a little more interesting. Here's what I know. In Tillatum, you and fellow players take on the roles of rich merchants traveling throughout Europe, from Flanders to Venice during the golden age of the Renaissance. You will travel to various cities to acquire trade contracts for wool and iron, as well as a collection of their coats of arms. You must collect the required resources to fulfill contracts, invest in the construction of monumental cathedrals, gain the favor of noble families, and participate in important fairs where your main business occurs. You will also use the services of notable people who will be welcomed into your houses. You will thus gain prestige that will make you the most famous merchant of the Renaissance. Tillatum is a dice management game in which dice have a dual function, gaining resources and performing actions. A certain number of dice will be rolled each round. On your turn, choose a die to gain the number of corresponding resources equal to the value of the die. Then perform the associated action. The power of the action is inversely proportional to the value of the die. So the fewer resources you gain, the more powerful the actions you take, and vice versa. Tillatum is for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 60 to 100 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $59.99 when it arrives in stores on October 6th. Cool. Nice to see something that is not Mesoamerican themed from Board and Dice. They have a very unique game style. Their Euro games tend to be rather heavy, tend to be a bit on the heavier side. I don't know if this will be as heavy as some of their other games, because it is a dice placement game. So those tend to be a little easier to wrap your head around, but kind of cool. We might actually get a chance to see this. I'm not sure. Every once in a while, Board and Dice just sends me stuff out of the blue and we get to check it out. So anything is possible. Connor Dunning is with us in chat. Flaming Heron says, Wizards of the Coast is probably not going to be poor on my account, I guess. No, there are plenty of people out there who are going to be singing the praises of Spelljammer and telling you, oh my gosh, it's an 11 out of 10. It's that good. It's an 11. You got to get it. You got to buy it. Connor points out companies that rely on word of mouth are usually smart enough not to crap on reviews. Yeah, for the most part. Because I don't actually deal with Wizards of the Coast directly. I deal with their PR company that they have, and they never have an issue. They're always cool. They're always cool with me. All right. Moving right along, there is a game that I guarantee is on my best friend Elliot Miller's radar. In fact, I shot him an email today about this news piece, and he was super excited because arriving this fall from Ares Games is War of the Ring, the card game. I know I have talked about this previously, but Ares is now taking pre-orders. Here's the scoop. Inspired by the best-selling and award-winning War of the Ring board game, War of the Ring, the card game, allows players to journey to the world of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings and create their own version of the dramatic conflict between the Dark Lord Sauron and the free peoples of Middle-earth. In War of the Ring, the card game, up to 4 players compete in 2 teams, the Shadow against the Free Peoples, each player using a specific and different card deck representing the strengths and weaknesses of the different factions involved in the war. The Free Peoples desperately try to complete their quest to destroy the One Ring, while at the same time defending their homelands from the encroaching hordes of Sauron and his evil allies. The Shadow players must strike quickly and decisively before the Ring Bearers can complete their quest, or try to slowly corrupt Frodo, burdening him with wounds, toil, and the sorrow for the loss of his companions. During the game, players will take turns playing cards representing the characters, armies, items, and events of the War of the Ring. Each card they play will help or hinder the journey of the Fellowship as it progresses on its path, or be used to defend or conquer the strongholds of Middle-earth as they fight to control the new battleground cards activated in each round. With more than 100 original illustrations from the greatest Tolkien, I guess that's a word, artists in the world, including an amazing gallery of landscapes from the Shire to Mordor by John and Fenina Howe, War of the Ring, the card game, is more than a game. It is also a memorable collection for all lovers of the world imagined by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is your chance to forge the destiny of an age like you never did before. War of the Ring, the card game, is for 2 to 4 players. I'm not sure if it's 2 to 4 or 2 or 4. Kind of curious, because I'm going to take a stab in the dark that with 2 players, you're probably going to take the 2 Free People's decks or the 2 Shadow player decks and combine them. So I guess it would be possible for you to play 3 players. Not sure. Don't know. Anyway, it is also for ages 13 and up. Plays in around 60 minutes. And right now you can pre-order the game from Ares for an MSRP of $44.90. And this game is going to arrive in stores in November. So the Madman says somehow he thinks Elliot and he would get along just fine. I would believe Elliot gets along pretty well with just about anybody, as long as you're not a jerk. So the Madman says the War of the Ring card game is on his list as well. And games that I've mentioned that Elliot likes, the Madman tends to like as well. So sweet. Coco B says, smash the hobbits first. Sauron wins. Howdy, y'all. Hello, Coco. Good to see you. So Kevin says the box says 2 to 4. So assuming 3 is possible. That's what I figure as well. But you never know. You never know. There have been occasions where there were games that were for like 2, 4, or 6 players and did not work for 3 or 5, and it wasn't marked on the box. So I know I've run across a couple of games like that in the past. So I did mention that, but I'm thinking it's 2, 3, or 4. That should be fine. Let's talk about some role-playing game news, because there is a new bundle of holding which has arrived, and it features small press indie role-playing games. Here's the deets on the deal. Adventurer. This all-new indie treasure trove 2022 gathers a wide range of recent small press tabletop role-playing games for an unbeatable bargain price. For just $9.95, you get all 5 complete role-playing games in the starter collection, which has a retail value of $43. It includes Girl Underground, a low-prep apocalypse engine RPG of a young girl and her companions traveling a semi-sinister wonderland. Go ask Alice, I guess. Hunt the Wicked. Galactic bounty hunters keep the peace to protect humanity from extinction. I need a sip. Because I just said Extinction, not extinction. Yeah. There's Made to Order. The Municipal Order of Technomantic Engineers keeps the lights on in the Magitech city of Thelema. And Save the Universe. Create a galactic menace and the heroes that defeat it in this simple story-focused space opera. As well as The Spider and the City, a solitaire journaling game of a criminal mastermind in a city racked by rebellion. And if you pay more than the current threshold price of $20.51, you'll level up and also get the entire bonus collection with 5 more games worth an additional $58, including Dueling Fops of Vindemere, Boast, Show Off, Wager, Conspire, Fight, Elope, Wed, Rise in Society, and Boast some more in a scandal-plagued city. Cool your ardor, Swain. Then there's also Dot Dungeon. This tabletop RPG casts you as players in an online fantasy game. Wait, what? Overarms, awaken your psychic anima and learn to understand its abilities and purpose in this rules-light RPG based on Japanese manga and video games. There's The Well. In this dungeon climb, you head upwards through a miles-deep shaft to fight undead and loot abandoned tunnels. And then there's also Wicked and Graceful. In the waning days of the Atlantean Empire, you work, or not, to avert the coming fall. This is the prequel to Bright and Terrible. These savings run through September 5th. 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to this pandemic-related charity, which has been chosen by this offer. And you guessed it, it is Direct Relief. Yes, Direct Relief. I don't know. It's always going on like that. So we've got Primo with us in chat. Testy Trekkie has arrived as well. Disavowed 92 and 245 Trioxin are hanging out. And there was a little discussion of Testy Trekkie says, I honestly don't understand the point of journaling games as a role-playing game. I'm kind of with you on that too. I'm not real. I don't know. So Double T says they're awesome as a writing or storytelling mechanism, but they just don't feel like an RPG. Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that as well. But plenty of small publisher indie role-playing game adventuring for you at a very small price tag as well. Arriving in the late fall from Kobold Press is going to be the hardcover edition of A Tome of Beasts 3. 4-5E. Here's the skinny. Something lurks in the shadows. With over 400 monsters at your fingertips, Tome of Beasts 3 is sure to challenge, delight, and even terrify your players. It's going to include an appendix filled with NPCs, monsters designed by guest designers such as B. Dave Walters, Gail Simone, and many more. Monsters that were designed by the very Kickstarter backers for this book. And monsters ranging from familiars to coastal environments to towering undead to forest-haunting dragons. Tome of Beasts 3 Layers, which is also going to be arriving, is going to include 18 mapped adventures. So that is something to keep an eye on as well, although I'm focused on Tome of Beasts 3 right now. The monsters from the Tome of Beasts 3 cover the gamut from trash mobs to major villains, and each has been carefully designed, tested, edited, and illustrated to make an immediate, terrifying impact on your next 5e tabletop game. You can pre-order the 424-page hardcover right now over at the Kobold Press website for $54.99. If you want to just grab the PDF alone, you can do so and pre-order that for $29.99. And the tome is going to arrive in November. Yes. Good stuff from Kobold Press. As far as I understand, I believe this is the final Tome of Beasts. I don't think they're going to do any more Tome of Beasts. That's what I had heard, that this is the final. It is the third and final Tome of Beasts. So 400 monsters, 424 pages. Gonna have some, got some mob monsters. You got some major villains. That pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Of course, this was a very successful Kickstarter as well. So, Tessie Trekkie says, sometimes feels like we're in D20 third-party glut 2.0. But we do have some solid companies out there providing 5e content. And it's a good thing because Wizards of the Coast, their content isn't always the greatest. See my Spelljammer review as an example. Yes. So I actually like the Kobold Press stuff. In fact, I'm going to tell you what's on the agenda for next week when we finish up with the news here. All right. Final news piece arriving in stores at the end of the month is the final chapter of the Enemy Within campaign for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Here's the scoop on the Empire in Ruins Director's Cut from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment. I saw a blasphemous city coming down from the heavens, and as it descended, the people cried out in woe. I saw death, madness, and transformation as the exalted Lord brought his master's realm to the crown of the Empire. Empire in Ruins is the 5th volume of the revised and updated director's cut of The Enemy Within, one of the most highly regarded role-playing campaigns ever written. After the events of the Horned Rat, the heroes have won the respect and trust of many in Middenheim. But before they can capitalize on their renown, the Empire descends into the turmoil of civil strife. In the final part of the 5-part series of grim and perilous Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay adventures, a number of threats that the characters may have thought far behind them reassert their influence. Icons of authority and leadership are found wanting, and the greatest nation in the old world appears destined to shake itself to pieces. Only by undertaking a dangerous journey can the characters prevent the ruination of all they hold dear. Empire in Ruins includes the 5th part of the Enemy Within campaign, conceived by legendary Whiffrip writer Graham Davis, with contributions by a team of talented Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay writers. The schemes of the Altdorf Cell of the Purple Hand, whose plots place those of Karl-Heinz Wassmeyer, and the Middenheim Cell in the Shade. There's the ambitions of a certain Magister Impedimenti, how they coincide with the grand designs of the Purple Hand, and how they diverge. There's a culmination of controversies that have featured in adventures over the past few years. The true architect of the Ubisreich takeover, the rouser of beastmen and mutants, the inspiration of demonologists and heretics, shall be revealed. There's memorable villains such as the Madcraw tribe, the Threshers, and the multifarious departments of the remaining Purple Hand. This 208-page hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $44.99, which will include the PDF if you order from Cubicle 7 Entertainment or one of their retail partners. It is hitting stores this month. You can also grab the PDF alone right now. Yes, it has been out for a while. You can grab it over at DriveThruRPG for $22.99. Flaming Heron says, and not to spoil it, it's a much better ending to the campaign. Yes, because the 4th and 5th chapters were completely new. So the previous ending of The Enemy Within got tossed. So it's blink, it's gone. So this is all new. And see, Flaming Heron's read it. I have not. Because as I mentioned yesterday, usually what I do with Cubicle 7 Entertainment releases, I get the PDFs ahead of time, months ahead of time, but I really don't take a peek at them until the actual physical release is coming out. So I don't know. No spoilers coming from me. I can tell you that much. But if you checked out my interview with Dominic McDowell from Cubicle 7, we do discuss what's on the horizon for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And there is another campaign that is coming. I believe it's a 3-parter. It's not 5. It's going to be 3 parts. So it's not as if Wifrip is going to suffer because The Enemy Within Director's Cut has come to an end. Sweet. All right, that is it for the news. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always swing on over to paypal.me/thegaminggang and making a small donation. So, and there are folks out there who do that as well. So Marcus George was the last person to swing by and make a donation. The Madman does it quite often. So big tip of the cap to folks out there who use either the banner links to DriveThruRPG or I guess we should say, the paypal.me link. So very, very cool. Thank you very, very much. So a few things I'm going to talk about before we jump on into taking a look at Best Left Buried Deeper. First off, there are all these little spiders in the Duct Tape Studios. They are very distracting. They're tiny, tiny, tiny. And I watch them. You might notice my eyes kind of like, I'm doing some like talking or something. You see me kind of like glancing away. And it's because I'll see these little spiders come down. There was one last night that was on the lens. It didn't actually get onto the glass of the lens, but it was like kind of crawling around. And I was like, I am just waiting for that to like step onto the glass. But it didn't do it. So currently there are 3 little tiny, and they're like they're like itty bitty. But it's funny. It's like I can see like sometimes they come down, then they're going back up. It's like 2,4,5 trioxin says it's a gift from Lolth. Yes. Sly Blue Demon is with us tonight. Welcome aboard. Good to have you joining us once again. They mentioned they're going to be running a Wifrip game soon and really like how Cubicle 7 has handled the license. They have done really well. Flaming Heron's also pointing out they've been great custodians of the Warhammer license. So Flaming Heron doesn't see any of their releases suffering. Also points out that Kobold Press does good stuff as well. So Tessie Trekkie says in Australia, their home is filled with huntsman spiders. Best spider bros ever. Yeah, I don't really mind the spiders. What I don't like is when I'll move something and all of a sudden like spider like that big comes flying out and you're like, whoa, didn't see that coming. But they don't really bother me. Flaming Heron says that their mother would be there right away with the vacuum, sucking them all up. Like I said, they're super, super tiny, and they're kind of like all over the place. So what I try to do is I just try to kind of scoop them up and deposit them away. I'm not going to go just kill them. I mean, you know. So, anywho, so I was going to talk about what is on the horizon next week. So we were talking about Kobold Press, and there was some discussion about, well, it's the last Tome of Beasts until the new edition of D&D. That's a possibility. Of course, we still don't know exactly what this new edition is going to be, if it's going to be a 5.5 or if it's going to actually be a 6. I personally think I'm leaning more towards a 6. I don't know. I'm not sure. And I do kind of get the impression that we might see a little house cleaning with Wizards of the Coast as well. I might get some fresh blood in there. Now, I don't know. Once again, this is just me. It's just an impression I've got. But usually they tend to do that. So Chris Perkins has been kind of the lead for 5e for a lot of 5e. Wouldn't be surprised to see if he moves on to someplace else. Don't know. I do not know. Anyway, so talking about Kobold Press, next week it is Southlands week here on the Gaming Gang Dispatch. That's right. We are going to look at Southlands releases, all 3 episodes. So on Monday's show, we're going to take a look at the Southlands World Book, which if you saw my first look as well as my review for Midgard, really, really enjoyed that. This is part of that world. This is another section of that world. So on Monday's show, we will be taking a look at the World Guide or the World Book. Then on Tuesday's show, we'll look at the Player's Guide. So this will have player options if you are setting your adventures in Southlands. And then on Wednesdays, on Wednesday's show, we'll take a look at City of Cats, which is kind of a city book and adventure, I understand. So all next week, it will be Southlands from Kobold Press. And of course, we'll be sharing the latest in tabletop gaming news as well. On tomorrow's show, we are going to take a look at the Battlezoo Bestiary from Roll for Combat, and this is the Pathfinder edition. This is like first edition Pathfinder, but there isn't a huge difference with stat blocks for first and second edition Pathfinder. So, because this is relatively recent, so this has come out since second edition Pathfinder. So we're going to take a look at this as well. So Christopher Rush says, City of Cats. Kevin says they've got a whole bunch of Southlands in PDF, but when the Kickstarter was live, they could only afford the Player's Guide in physical form. Oh, you got the PDFs, though. Coco B says, it's a musical city. Yes. That's what it is. It's all based on the musical Cats. So it's actually written by Andrew Weber. So the other thing I was going to talk about, I opened my mouth way too soon yesterday. So if you were watching, I had mentioned, gosh, it looked like maybe GMT Games wasn't sending stuff anymore. And I was bummed. I was bummed about it. I was like, man, that sucks. Because GMT is such a great company. Well, box arrived today. See, and the reason why I thought maybe they weren't sending stuff, because for one, their PR person has changed. Not recently, but it hasn't been that long. And you know how it is. I've talked about it before. When these PR people change at companies, it's like, now I got to build a whole new relationship and things like that. And people were sharing like unboxing videos for Flashpoint South China Sea like a month ago. I was like, oh, I guess I'm not going to see it. I'm actually going to have a standalone video on Thursday with an unboxing to take a look at this because I really want to check this out. So this looks like this would be something that I can very easily get to the table with either my best friend Elliot, who is feeling better, by the way, even though he's still got COVID. He said he's about 80% normal now when I talked to him yesterday. So that's good. But I can probably also get this to the table with my nephew Cameron as well. Of course, I'm going to have to play China. That's how these things work. But that's okay. Doesn't matter. I'll kick whoever's butt I'm playing with whoever. Doesn't matter. But also got an expansion for Stalingrad 42. An expansion for Fire in the Lake, which is a coin series, very popular Vietnam coin series. It is Fall of Saigon. So, of course, you have to have Fire in the Lake for this. The Musket and Pike Dual Pack, which features This Accursed Civil War and Sweden Fights On. So these are reprints of 2 out-of-print GMT war games. So interesting period. And then we've got the Great Battles of Julius Caesar Deluxe Edition. So all of this stuff showed up today in a big old box. So I was pretty excited. So Flaming Heron says they definitely loaded you up. Plenty of gaming ahead for me. See, the problem that I run into is it's very difficult for me to get players to the table for just games that look very traditional hex and counter. Now, I will point out from what I was taking a look at here, even the dual pack and the Julius Caesar, they have more modern looking counters, which go a long way, at least with the people I know, trying to get them to the table. Stuff with the NATO iconography and stuff like that just doesn't fly with the gamers I know. And it's kind of tough to get people to check stuff out. Connor Dunning points out they walked out on Cats. I didn't walk in, so never seen it. I heard it was pretty awful. And I heard when it first arrived in theaters, there were like special effects weren't completed. Stuff like that. It was very bizarre. Disavow 92 says, Jeff Con. Yes. Jeff Con. I'm still bouncing around if we're going to do a November Extra Life charity event. Got to find out. I would like to. I'd like to. We didn't last year because of COVID and that, but I would like to do something for it. I don't know if it's just going to be a session at a D&D. Well, not D&D. Role-playing game session of some sort or not, but very cool. John Bogle, like I said, John Bogle would like that bit of news because I know John was watching last night. I said, yeah, I don't know. Maybe GMT's not sending me stuff anymore. And I know John's a war gamer, so he likes his War Game Wednesdays, which we will get back to. Yes, we will. All righty. So we are going to be taking a look at Best Left Buried Deeper in just a moment. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Here's the way we quench our thirst, quench our thirst, quench our thirst. Here's the way we quench our thirst. at the refreshment counter. Now's the time to yum, 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 yum. Now's the time to yum, yum, yum. At the refreshment counter, popcorn, drinks, and candy too, candy too, candy too. Popcorn, drinks, and candy too. At the refreshment counter, at the refreshment counter, at the refreshment counter.
Want a cup of Wilkins coffee?
What'll Mr. Wilkins do if I don't?
Oh, he'll probably put his foot down.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The management of this drive-in theater is happy to announce you can enjoy your favorite form of movie entertainment regardless of rain. No longer will it be necessary to let rain spoil your fun. Now you can keep your windshield clear and dry with a drizzle guard. Simply attach it to your windshield, and in a jiffy you're enjoying the movie without constantly running your windshield wipers. A drizzle guard will save you gasoline and wear and tear on your battery. After the show is over, all you do is take off your drizzle guard, roll it up, and it's ready to be used again, just like an umbrella. So next time it rains, don't sizzle in a drizzle. Get yourself a drizzle guard and enjoy the show. Drizzle guards are on sale now at the concession center.
Yes, drizzle guards look like a complete waste of your time. It's pouring rain and then they show, oh, well, we got the drizzle guard on, and they can't even be bothered to spell guard correctly. It's G-A-R-D. And I show all this water pouring down the middle of it. It's like, though I have to admit, I was at the drive-in theater a few times when it was pouring rain, but I was on a date, so I really did not care. So Kevin asked, but how does the drizzle guard help with the wired electric speakers you had to use to get the audio? Jeez. Yikes. So Christopher Rush points out that they're recuperating from a back injury, and the intermission had them tripping. Really wasn't. Oh, was it the yum yum? This is how we yum yum. Like, okay, doke. Sarah D is with us in chat. Good to see you, Sarah. So Flaming Heron says, yeah, I want to go to the movies in the rain. Yes. I wish there were drive-in theaters around here. Nothing that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's one within 50 miles. But I don't know. I don't know. All righty then. So tonight, I am going to take a first look at Best Left Buried Deeper from SoulMuppet Publishing. This hardcover collects the Cryptdiggers Guide to Survival, the Doomsayer's Guide to Horror, and the Hunter's Guide to Monsters in one handy volume. It's written by Zachary Cox with Nicholas Spence, and artwork is provided by Ben Brown. This 328-page tome carries an MSRP of $49, which I believe also includes a PDF. Or you can also grab a PDF bundle over at DriveThruRPG. It includes those 3 releases and a few other items. It is $28.06. So there we have it. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got, ta-da, Best Left Buried Deeper. So a couple of things I do want to point out. First off, the fine folks over at SoulMuppet Publishing did provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And of course, these days, it's important for you to know that. Do also want to point out, I have been invited by SoulMuppet Publishing to be an affiliate. So I do have an affiliate link that will be included both on the gaminggang.com article that will include this video, as well as the show notes on YouTube. So just pointing that out. Of course, I'm going to say picture in picture up here because I remembered to do that today. So as we take a peek through, I'll probably be cutting off a little bit of the upper left portion of the book. Best Left Buried Deeper is a rules-light fantasy horror role-playing game where the monsters are scary and you are scared. Players are Cryptdiggers, professional dungeon divers who venture into monster-infested crypts seeking riches. Survivors might find themselves richer, but will be changed by their experience. They are often broken, beaten, and diminished, as ruined as the crypts themselves. The Doomsayer guides them on this journey, a referee who creates the threatening environments, cryptic puzzles, and terrifying monsters the Cryptdiggers face. This book contains the combined manuscripts of 3 components. As I mentioned already, Cryptdiggers' Guide to Survival, Doomsayer's Guide to Horror, and the Hunter's Guide to Monsters. It contains everything you need to play, as well as guidelines and procedures for running games. Man says, really dig the cover. Oof, that was bad. So we're going to dive on in. Okay, so first off, we'll point out that the paper stock is very nice. Very nice, very thick. SoulMuppet Publishing is out of the UK, but they do have a US store. So you are able to order it from the US, not have to worry about shipping charges from the UK. So I'm not going to look at each and every page here, but I do want to give you a good feel for what's in this book. As far as I understand, this is a new SR sort of release. I know we've had some discussions as of late. What is OSR? Well, this is considered to be new SR. As far as I understand, I have not cracked this open. I have not taken a peek at this. We are jumping on in. So should point out there is a warning. Best Left Buried has mature themes, including the following: violence, mental illness, death, injury, trauma, ableism, mutilation, body horror, cannibalism, blood addiction, and drug use. There you go. Pretty much cover everything right there. Christopher Rush says the game sounds right up their alley. Their Saturday group loves a good horror game. So concepts and tools. Characters are controlled by Cryptdiggers. Mythological monsters and NPCs are controlled by the Doomsayer and might be monsters in the mythological sense or just other people not controlled by the characters. Creatures include both these categories. The only dice you need in Best Left Buried are standard 6-sided dice, known as D6. If asked to roll X D6, roll X dice and add them together. So we also have D2s, D3s. So it's explaining how you roll a D2 and a D3. Okay. So the loose cycle of play is as follows. The Doomsayer describes a situation. The Cryptdiggers describe how they interact. Doomsayer decides if what. Mechanics resolve the interaction. Stat check, observation check, grip check, combat. And if necessary, dice are rolled. The Doomsayer narrates the action's outcome, explaining how the situation changed. And you'll repeat. So, stats. Characters have 3 stats: brawn, wit, and will. That is an aspect of new SR. So new SR doesn't usually have the 6 standard attributes that you're so used to from D&D derived games. So you don't have strength, dexterity, intelligence, constitution, wisdom, and charisma. So here we've got brawn, wit, and will. The higher the better. You also have archetypes. So you're going to have a stat check. So you roll 2d6 plus a stat. Result in 9 or higher is a success. Anything lower is a failure. Doomsayer decides if a check is easier than normal. If so, it's made with the upper hand advantage. Roll an extra die and discard the lowest. If the check is hard, it's against the odds. So you're going to roll an extra die and discard the highest. So you can also make checks easier with exertion. So you have grip. I'm not sure what grip is. Maybe it's your grip on reality. Maybe. I don't know. Christopher points out, nice large text for my ancient eyes. Yes. It is so easy to read this. A lot of times I'll be looking at stuff and I'm, trying to read some of the stuff and it's like, oh my God, this text is so small. And it's not, not exactly, the book isn't placed in the most advantageous location to read. So far, super easy. So those are stat checks. We've got observation checks. So once again, it's 2d6, 9 or higher is a success. So you use an observation check to discern surrounding details. Okay, here we got vigor and grip. Vigor measures health, and your resilience, and grip measures, there you go, sanity, stamina, and mana. Vigor is lost from physical dangers and replenished by resting away from danger. Grip is lost through exertion, failing grip checks, probably kind of like a sanity check, or using some advancements, and regained by accepting consequences like injuries or afflictions. Interesting. So a grip check is essentially 2d6 plus your will. On a 9 or higher, you succeed and you gain 1 experience. If you fail, you lose a grip. If you're reduced to 0 vigor, flip a coin. Heads, you're dead. Tails, you're wounded and unconscious. Tails never fails. Making you vulnerable to being finished off by an enemy unless an ally prevents them with a heroic rescue. All right, so that's kind of our rules here. Talk about inventory slots. That's something else that a lot of new SR games will have. You're not sitting there calculating every damn coin worth of encumbrance. A lot of times you'll have so many inventory slots. Some things are bigger and take up more than 1 inventory slot. So here it says 12 plus your will or wit. So I'm curious. Maybe we'll get to that in a second. So we have attacks and defense. Attacking, you roll 3d6. And you're normally going to add brawn or wit. So if the sum of any 2 dice ties or exceeds the target's armor, the attack deals vigor damage. If no 2 dice tie or exceed the target's armor, the attack misses and deals no damage. Rolling a 6's damage also inflicts an injury. So this might be a rather lethal combat system. Nice. The Game Master looks like he's insane. Like, eyes all bugged out. Yes, I'm going to kill all of you. All of you. All right, there we go. Making a character. I was kind of curious how we get our stats here. So we've got the brawn, wit, and will. So are we going to get points that we spend? Because we'll have positives and negatives, right? Okay, so it says Cryptdiggers tend to be very good at one thing, pretty good at another, and average at a third. To represent this, allocate +2 to one stat, +1 to another, and 0 to the remaining. So there you go. There's how we take care of that. And then your vigor is 6 plus your brawn. Your grip is 4 plus your will. And you can gain advancements as well through experience. So you can increase your grip and vigor. Vigor can never exceed 5 plus brawn plus number of advancements, and grip has no cap. So, Christopher Rush says, yes, the GM lost his grip. Blackleaf, no. Kevin says he's assuming that the game master is possessed by the spirits floating above his head. Those are the voices in his head he hears. All right, so we've got making a character. All right, so we're going to start skipping some pages here. I just wanted to get a good feel for what the core mechanics are of the game. Super easy, super easy to wrap your head around. So we got our archetypes. We got believer, Kabbalist, cutthroat, a dastard, who are like rogues. The everyman says not every crypt digger fits an archetype. Not everyone is a glorious hero, professional thief, or sinister cultist. Sometimes you're an everyman. We have a free blade, outcast, psyker, protagonist, scholar, travelers, veteran. Wow, I'm surprised how many archetypes we've got here. This has a little bit, a tiny bit of a little bit of the Black Hack vibe to it. I'm not saying this is derived from Black Hack at all, but it just kind of reminds me of it a little bit, which is actually a good thing. Because it looks as if just because the mechanics are fairly light, it does look like we've got a lot going on in this book. So we've got our weapons. We have hand weapons, heavy weapons, light, long, throwing, ranged, and improvised. Got different equipment. Here we have our advancements. So each, it looks as if our different archetypes have different advancements, almost like feats that they'll get. So there's quite a few of these. Tough as nails. Spirits of the beyond. Spend one grip and an action to reanimate a corpse to serve for a single combat or 5 minutes. Well, that's pretty wild. All right, playing the game. Talking about stat checks. We already discussed that. The upper hand and against the odds. Multiple instances. Each instance of the upper hand cancels out an instance of against the odds and vice versa, which would make sense. Exertion, observation checks, grip checks. Talking about combat. There is initiative. There is surprise. We have zones. So it looks like we have 5 zones. Or is it just zones? I think it's just zones. It says, like time, combat space is more precisely defined. A combat area is called a zone, which represents a space traversable in a turn. Might be a large open circular space about 20 meters across, a heavily obstructed cramped space slowing movement, or a sheer cliff. I talk about turns as well. Oh, there we go. Got to have our grappling rules. Yes, that's an inside joke. You have to be a true follower of the gaming gang to get where that joke comes from. It does come from AD&D, by the way. So we've got consequences. So we've got afflictions, character flaws. Then we got monsters. How to make a monster. Monster adaptations. And then I think this section here is the second book. So I believe this is more the Game Master, the Doomsayers section here. So talking about the crypt, rewards, treasure, magic items, the camp. It says, in company campaigns, remember the camp represents half of Cryptdiggers' lives. Present interesting NPCs for building relationships with. Let them gossip and exchange rumors about nearby weird monsters, deadly traps, and friends lost to the crypt. The camp's hubbub sharply contrasts with the crypt, where role-playing and relationship building replace exploration, horror, and combat. So, Kevin says it'll be interesting to see if they do a decent implementation of combat zones. Looks like they're putting more thought into it than a lot of games that try it. So we got a toolbox of rules. So it looks like we've got some optional rules we can plug in. So resting and mishaps. So this is our toolbox here. And then looks like we've got some crypts. So the low hills of internment. So we've got a bit of a hex crawl here. And then we've got a bit of a dungeon delve or a crypt delve. That's kind of cool. We've got a bestiary as well. And I noticed that our entries for the monsters are pretty short and sweet and to the point. The Worlds of the Crypt. So this looks like this is kind of a gazetteer of the game world and different locations. And it looks as if we're just kind of getting some bullet points about everything here. So as an example, we have DuPont. Oh, wow, the corporations in the game world. Okay. So it talks about what is this? It's a colony, different factions that you would find, rumors and hooks, and different locations. So I don't know if these are specifically worlds, because it says worlds, or if these are just locales. So creating and running monsters. So discussing the difficulty and best left buried, imagining monsters, reskinning and tweaking, spicing them up. Here we've got some mainstays. So it looks like these are kind of our traditional sorts of kind of fantasy creatures. Christopher Rush says that they're impressed with the amount of care that seems to be placed into this game, a lot more than they were thinking they would see. Yes, I'm pretty impressed by this as well. But I have always heard good things about SoulMuppet Games. So I also have a copy of Into the Bronze that we are going to be taking a look at as well. It is far shorter than this, but that is another SoulMuppet Publishing release. So here we've got, looks like these are monsters. So we've got the Fae, Cinder Beasts, which are demons, devils, creatures of supernatural evil or chaos. Adaptations. And then we got a kind of just a standard bestiary. This isn't just overflowing with artwork, but there's enough artwork to kind of keep the creative juices flowing. And it's not overwhelming to the point of like, okay, so where's the game content? Right? Like, what's with all the artwork? If I want an art book, I'd pick up an art book. So we've got misshapen magic, monster crafting, simple foes, powerful enemies. Huh, that's kind of interesting there. And then we've got some player-facing maps. So here is our hex crawl and our low hills maps. Kind of surprised that your player characters would actually get a copy of this. I guess after they've explored it, possibly. And then we've got the blank character sheet. And that is Best Left Buried Deeper from SoulMuppet Publishing. And once again, this is available right now. This 328-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $49. I do believe it includes a PDF. If you want to just grab the PDF, there is a bundle that includes all 3 of the volumes that are included in this, plus a few other items. And that is available at DriveThruRPG for $28.06. So let's swing on over to the other camera here. And I will have a review of Best Left Buried Deeper in the very near future. Pretty impressive. I like what I was seeing. And looks as if you could teach the rules to players probably in about 10 minutes. So pretty nice. Pretty nicely done. All right. So Christopher Rush points out it's a pretty nice looking character sheet. Tessie Trekkie says, looks gorgeous. Yeah, like I said, I'm quite impressed. I have heard good things about SoulMuppet Publishing releases. And this is the first time I've actually had an opportunity to take a peek at one. And I do have my review of the player's handbook for Castles and Crusades, as well as the Castle Keeper's Guide on the horizon. So those 2 are going to hit before this. But I'm finished reading those 2 books. I just have to shoot the videos, of course, and then I'll start checking this out. All righty. So that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as today's review of Dungeons & Dragons Spelljammer Adventures in Space from Wizards of the Coast. So if you are curious about this, I tell you straight up what I think. I'll leave it at that. Of course, on tomorrow's show, we are going to dive on into the Battle Zoo Bestiary for Pathfinder from Roll for Combat. And as I had mentioned earlier, all next week, it is Southlands week. So we are going to be diving into the Southlands setting from Kobold Press. All right, Christopher Rush says, wonderful show. Well, thank you very much. Always appreciate you folks tuning on in. So if you were watching live, thank you very kindly. Always appreciate that. If you took part in chat, hey, you got bonus experience points now. You can use those for your Best Left Buried Deeper characters when you create them. Maybe get some extra feats. I'm more attentive because I watched live and took part in chat. But of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch the stream live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very, very much for taking time out of your busy lives to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. I'll be back tomorrow. It'll be hump day. And of course, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.